About a year ago, we had the chance to test the AOC C27G2, a monitor which, like many other AOC models we've tried, left a pretty good impression. That monitor was primarily meant for gaming, but it was also great for multimedia enjoyment and even professional work in apps that require an accurate display. As is often the case, a new year brings new products and a refresh of a current lineup, so we have received a direct successor to the aforementioned model named AOC C27G2ZU, where G2 means second generation. A new generation in this case justifies that name, since it's not just some small update, but an actual proper upgrade with some really good specs enhancements. Like its predecessor, this monitor is based on a VA panel, but with a 240Hz refresh rate instead of 144, which is quite a novelty for this type of panel. AOC also promises a response time of only 0.5 milliseconds, which certainly got our attention since such a low response time is still unattainable for new generation of IPS panels and even fast TM panels, and we should remind you that VA is traditionally the slowest panel type out there. So let's see how it actually performs and can it deliver the very ambitious promise made in the spec sheet. On first glance, C27G2 is very reminiscent of a G1 model, with thin bezels and a combination of black plastic with red details, but the visual style is more refined, so instead of red mesh, we see red metallic looking lines, which on the front follow the panel's curved theme. The back was also redesigned and looks better than on a previous generation. Undoubtedly gaming, but not flashy and distracting. A stand is also similar, V-shaped, and it does not take up much space thanks to the use of a support in the back, which gives it additional stability. The stand allows for a decent cable management thanks to the hole near the base and offers height adjustment of 13 cm, quite flexible panel rotation of 30 degrees to the left and right, and tilt by 3.5 degrees down and 21.5 degrees up. Pivot on a curved panel naturally does not make much sense, so you won't find it on this model either. Connectors are placed in a usual spot on the bottom of the back of the monitor, and there you'll find one DisplayPort, which will let you use this monitor to its full potential, as well as two HDMIs and one 3.5mm headphone jack. An interesting detail is the section with USB connectors, which is placed at an angle and houses one USB 3.2 for connection with a PC and 4-port USB hub for connecting additional devices. Now, we have one complaint regarding the design, and it is about menu control, which is done via 4 keys on the right bottom edge of the panel. Even though you can get used to it, in 2020 this is far from being intuitive, and we think a mini joypad would be a much more practical solution. The menu is a standard for AOC, with options separated into sections, and a look which is more fancy than the simple list, although not the most quick and efficient. In our opinion, you buy the monitor to use it, not to look at the menu, so the less time you have to spend using the menu, the more points the manufacturer gets for doing a good job. But since this is a gaming monitor, the most important thing is how it performs in games. In that sense, AOC has equipped this model really well, so C27G2 comes with support for both FreeSync Premium and G-Sync compatible variable refresh rate technologies, which you can use from 48Hz or even lower since LFC is supported as well, all the way up to 240Hz on any AMD or Nvidia graphics card and enjoy smooth gameplay in that range. A monitor resolution is Full HD or 1920 by 1080 pixels, which is not ideal for 27 inches since pixels are getting fairly large, but will still be fine for most users. This resolution choice is understandable since if you're going to play at a high refresh rate, say above 200, you do need a high frame rate, and none of the current generation of graphics cards is capable of pushing high resolutions at such a high FPS in modern games. As we mentioned, AOC C27G2 comes with a curved panel and a 1500R radius, which is quite the curve and will probably be unusual to anyone used to a flat screen. We can't say that a curved screen on a monitor this size is some revolutionary thing you can do without, but you do get used to it after a day or two and stop noticing the curve. If anything, it seems that the eye's focus with this monitor is always the same length, so that may be the practical advantage since noticing details along the edges of the screen is quicker and more comfortable to the eye. As for the gaming performance, our tests have shown that the response time of 0.5 milliseconds, as expected, is not quite realistic, but not totally fictional either. This panel is indeed very fast for a VA, but a figure of about 1 millisecond is attainable only with bright content, while dark scenes exhibit noticeable ghosting trails, which are common for this type of panel. Besides, that response time is only possible with an MBR option turned on, which is actually a backlight strobing between each frame. In order to use this option, you do need to give up variable refresh rate since those cannot operate at the same time, and it also causes the display to be much darker, so its usability and usefulness is debatable at best. Good news though is that the response time, even in normal mode with FreeSync or G-Sync active, is still pretty good, so in brighter games like Apex Legends or Fortnite, the monitor acts as it does have a fast response. If you prefer to play some darker titles, that will be a completely different story. The menu offers a panel overdrive setting, but we do recommend keeping it at strong, since that setting seems to be the best at reducing trails. While we're talking about the game performance, we should mention the input lag, which we measured at 14.8 milliseconds. Not overly impressive, but decent still. As for the picture quality, VA panel offers a fairly high contrast of 3832:1, with maximum brightness of 300 nits, both close to what the specs promise. 3 of the factory preset modes have shown a respectable color accuracy: sRGB, user and warm. In sRGB we measured the delta E deviation of only 2.3, while warm was slightly brighter and had more consistent maximum values, with still good precision of 2.7. We were impressed with the measured color gamut coverage of 100% sRGB and almost 90% of DCI-P free spectrum, even though this is only an 8-bit panel. The monitor also offers dynamic control of colors and contrast, the latter of which lowers the black level by additional 28%, which may be useful for those that prefer higher dynamic range to higher color accuracy. As for some extra image related features, there are HDR game, movie and picture modes, which are in fact an emulation of HDR appearance. Cool if you like the look, but nothing spectacular. There are also a couple of game modes tuned for various game genres, shadow control option that raises the black level and makes spotting the opponents in the shadows a bit easier, as well as game color option if instead of accurate colors you wish for a more lively and saturated look. Another game-related feature is the ability to display current refresh rate in the selected corner of the screen, which in case you are using FreeSync or G-Sync is in fact the FPS counter. Overall, AOC C27G2 has its stronger and weaker points, but is surely a good choice for gaming, especially if you're not playing some dark-looking competitive games. Thanks to its accurate color display and wide color gamut, we would say that this monitor can also serve you well for any work that may require a display fidelity you can trust. The best part is the price, which is currently about 340 euros in European markets, and that makes this model an affordable choice considering everything it has to offer. That will be all for this review. We hope you enjoyed it enough to give us a thumbs up and share your thoughts on this AOC monitor with us in the comments below. Keep watching Bench House, my name is Ivan and I'll see you next time.